Hello, everybody. I'm Russell Hill. I'm your host at WTF, and that is What the FixedOPS podcast. And we have a very special guest today, but I'm also joined by...
I'm Charity Dunning. I'm the co-host here. And today we have Jacqueline Jasionowski, the president at FixedOPS Group. Jacqueline, welcome to the show.
Hi, Charity. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for coming. And why don't you just introduce yourself and tell our audience what you do?
Yes. Sure. As Charity mentioned, I have that really long name, Jacqueline Jasionowski, right? So you're welcome to call me JJ. Most of my automotive colleagues do, a little bit shorter, right, to pronounce. I've been in the industry for, goodness, I stopped counting after 20 years, right? So over 2 decades, if you will, beginning with my time with BMW Group, so working for an OEM, and then since 2017, been on my own doing coaching and training in dealerships for multiple brands, if you will. And in 2022, dedicated my whole rest of my career to video MPIs.
Yeah, well, it's a phenomenal topic, and we're really honored and humbled to have you on to be able to talk to all of our guests out there. They're going to get a lot of information from it. It's a talking point that a lot of you that know me and follow the show and the new people that are joining in, it's huge. Fixed operations is huge. It's responsible for approximately 60% of the net. They keep all the lights on and the bills paid. And transparency is really important. And I know a big focal point is really we want to get a lot of that independent traffic that we've lost our business to, and turn around the repeat, referral, and retention challenges that we have. And this is obviously one way to do that. So let's talk about video MPI and why it's important and how do they differ from traditional multi-point inspections. Let's start it off with that, if you don't mind, Jacqueline.
Sure. So traditionally, right, we would have the customer either receiving something over text or email and talking to the advisor about the traditional MPI results. And so the difference there is just the lack of transparency. They're taking our word for it, right, as far as what needs attention, what the solution is for that concern that they might have. And in the past, obviously most of our customers, they come in ready to duke it out, right? I always say they're ready for a fight.
Yeah.
Either on sales and on service. We've got a perception, an industry perception we've been having to work with for the last several years and combat, saying, hey, this isn't exactly how all of us are. And so now with the integration of video into the process, this level of transparency, the seeing is believing, is allowing us to not only repair our reputation as an industry, but also help customers see really what's going on and build trust with them where it might have been lacking in the past.
Absolutely. I know some places like at Ford dealership here where my wife has her vehicle service, the MPI comes at the very end when you're checking out and paying your bill. And half the time they don't even go over it with you, even though I know what it is. Sometimes I say, hey, whatever. Or anyway, we'll talk about some of that. Yeah, it's really exciting stuff. When we're talking about transparency, I have to share this because part of the video MPI, I think, is it's going to be much easier for the customer to digest because we've really done a lot of damage over the last 30, 40 years out there, which 16 independents nationally, NADA says, actually sprung up around our franchise dealers. This is a way to change the perception. One of them is it all starts with the hello when you drive into the service drive. And I got it, and I've probably shared this 2 or 3 times, but Charity and Patrick just pretend like it's the first time you ever heard it. So I have a Genesis, and I called and scheduled an appointment for a rotate, which I didn't need a rotate because I have staggered, but I didn't know it at the time, and an oil change. And I was there 30 minutes early and still 3 cars deep. Okay. And by the time the service advisor got up to me, here's what he said. Do you have an appointment? Are you kidding me? What about hello, welcome back. My name is so-and-so, etc. And start building that relationship process. Now, if the vehicle is on the rack and I'm in for just a rotation and an oil change, which a lot of times that's what it is, and my front rotors are scorched and my pads are at 2 millimeters, tell us what happens with video MPI at this point, Jacqueline.
So with the introduction of video, first and foremost, your technician is going to say hello. If they're trained by me, they're going to say hello.
Right.
They may or may not always include their name for various reasons that they want to hold on.
Sure.
But they're definitely going to say hello to you. So in addition to addressing the main reason that you're there, they're going to have an opportunity to show you that your brakes are 2 millimeters. And when they're trained by me, I have them introduce the use of a brake gauge tool so that you can see the color. And what does red mean to you, Russell?
Danger, Will Robinson.
Danger, pay attention, concern, whatever those things, right? So when the customer has an opportunity to not only see the brakes, which by the way, do you think they actually understand what 2 millimeters is or what it looks like?
They do not.
They absolutely do not. But when you introduce the tool, then all of a sudden the connection is there, right? And so all of a sudden the customer goes, oh, I need to pay attention. And this is something important to me because it's important to my tech. They're bringing it to my attention. So that level of transparency, the seeing is believing, we've just activated a biological response by showing color, showing the brakes, giving them an understanding of what this would mean to them. And then the customer has the opportunity with enough information in that moment to make a decision on what they want to do.
Do you do it with just red or do you use yellow and green?
We use it all.
Okay.
And what's the benefit of showing green, you think?
Well, it sets it could be many things, but it sets a precedence. The routine scheduled maintenance is much less money than major repairs. And it also facilitates a relationship. It could very well be the previous experience they had. They felt like they were being taken to the cleaners and abused. And this sets up a level of transparency of trust and transparency.
Absolutely. And it tells the customer, we're not always going to have to ask you for money, right? And if it's a low mileage vehicle and they see that everything is green, what we've just done is provide them a level set of where their vehicle is. And then knowing that next time they come in, we're going to do the same thing, but it might not be green. Maybe it's yellow. They drive a lot, right? So this progression of steps and where it's so important, not just the one-off dealerships where, you know, somebody owns a Ford store and that's all they own, but is when they have a brand and they've got multiple or a group, I should say, and they have multiple brands underneath their group and ensuring the consistency is the same no matter where, if they come in for a BMW or Mercedes, a Cadillac, a Volvo, whatever that might look like, consistency of the experience.
It's critical. Charity.
Yeah, what is it that you think dealers don't understand about video MPIs?
That's a great question. I think that they don't understand the connection probably to the value, really what is being left on the table by not doing it. I think that also what gets in their way is the level of complexity in rolling this out and gaining buy-in from technicians that now we are disrupting their worlds. You know, they might have gotten into the business, right? When the DOS operating system existed, right? Because who remembers DOS? I do. The black screen with the green, you know, all the things, right? And we are very far removed from that. And so now we're having to really disrupt technicians' perspective on what their role is and integrate technology, which quite frankly, what I hear from many dealers is I don't have the time. I just don't have the time to learn this and then get their buy-in because they've got so many other fire drills they're trying to address in that moment.
What do you think? I have my own thoughts on that. And I believe there's a huge force out there of rethinking everything that we're doing about the siloed, you know, vehicle, variable versus fixed, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line, it's all about the customer and it's all about keeping the customers back. I'm going to use one that I think is probably one of the biggest is tires. Now, if they're showing up for regular maintenance and you use the yellow, let's say, or depending on what you have as you drive across the threshold, depending on the products you have to understand what the tire inflation, wear and tear, and all those types of things, critically important. We know it's typically going to be the single largest purchase they're going to make during their warranty period. If they do not buy a set of tires from all of you out there, if they don't buy a set of tires from you, they're going to buy them from somebody else, right? Because you failed to mention it, et cetera. And if they do buy them somewhere else, Goodyear, Firestone, et cetera, what do you think they're telling them? All your express service stuff just went out the door because that starts the defection rate. So this is one reason why you being on here is critical to resonate with everybody and bring this home, that speed of the pack is set by the leader. And I get it. Everybody is just busy. Everybody's just busy. But there's another word that makes that easy as a deflection. We're just too busy. And that's change. Change is the only constant yet. Boy, I'll tell you what, we don't like it, do we? How do you address all that?
Oh, wow. It's a layered answer. And to your point, it can be really difficult. And that's why I understand at the leadership level when they're like, oh, I just feel so overwhelmed. It's just too much to bear. I'm just going to not do it. However, it's not going away, as I mentioned beginning our podcast when we were all talking separately. And not to mention the OEMs are just going to start to put pressure on the fact that this needs to take place, right?
Yes.
With all the brands out there. So it's coming. So would you rather wait until you're being strong-armed to do it or get ahead of it and learn, right? In the beginning, before you have to learn when you have a target. And so I would encourage everyone obviously to get ahead of it, right? And then find the person or learn the processes in order to help you deploy the technology so that when you do have a target, you're already hitting the target. Now, when it comes to change, to answer your question, Russell, it's on a case-by-case basis. When it comes to culture inside the dealership, that has a driving factor on how willing the technicians are to buy in, right? If it's not bought in at the leadership level and it's like, oh, we just have to do this, it's another thing, how do you think your technicians are going to respond?
Yeah, they're pushed back.
That's right. And they know that they can because they've been doing it.
That's right.
Now, the thing I hear so often at the technician level is it's another thing. It's another thing. It's another thing. And their steps and their processes, either at their dealer level or at the OEM level, just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. And so they feel, when is it going to end? And how does video actually benefit me? And that is where it's important from a change management standpoint to help them understand we are no longer in the DOS age, but we are in the iPhone, Android, AI age, right? And so with that, we have to change. We have to be willing to change. Or if it's too much, is this still the right profession for you? Yeah. And that's a hard question to ask because
it is.
We have a technician shortage too, and you don't want your high turn and text to bolts, you know. And
at the same time, they're complaining that they're making these recommendations, and they wonder if the advisors are even talking to the guest about it. And you know, I don't ever get this, you know. I think it's coming. I have personally know a lot of dealerships that are bought in at a high level. Do you think some of it has to do with, or my understanding is that because I used to be one, 80 to 85% of the general managers grew up on the variable side. They just don't buy in. They're too busy. They're too busy. How do you grab their attention, or do you work like with fixed ops directors? I mean, how do you make your way in there?
Sure. So I'm talking at the highest levels of leadership, and usually the general manager is involved or the owner is involved at some point, because ultimately they always know I ask this question. So who here is making too much money? And if I presented to you, I've asked you that question, and it's on purpose. It's on purpose because then they say, oh, I know, you're right, JJ. No, we're not making too much money. Okay, fantastic. So the question always is, what are you leaving on the table? And that starts the conversation, right? Because oftentimes they are leaving all this money on the table, but until they really are asked it and contemplate it, they don't really want to go and find it because of the time, right? And so once we get into the general manager and they're bought in because they know, hey, this is a revenue generator for our business. In addition, to your point earlier, it ultimately always starts with building trust with our customer. And we know that when we build trust and have a great experience, they're willing to spend more, right? And so where can they spend more? It's always on fixed operations because cars don't stay new forever.
That's right.
There's eventually a time they're going to have to say yes. And where do we want them to say yes? Which you said earlier, we want them to say yes at our dealership. But in order to do that, we have to build value in what they're experiencing. When they go to the independent store, the likelihood of them getting back is slim to zero. We all know that. So putting in the effort on the front end, right, and being able to give that value to the customer, we know that that is where we're going to gain from this introduction of video. Now, in addition to the general manager or the owner, obviously it's the FixedOPS directors, because they understand this is where they understand instantly. I don't really have to ask them so much, but they know that there are efficiencies in that part of the process. And we also do know that not all advisors have the ability to have a conversation with a customer that sometimes ends in giving them the hard news, right? The hard information, but it will keep them safe. And so they pick and choose. This eliminates picking and choosing. The technician, my doctor on the vehicle, can give the diagnosis right there in the solution right there without the advisor saying they're going to get mad. They're going to get mad. But they're going to be really mad if their tire blows out on the side of the highway and nobody told them.
Yep, they are. They are. Yeah. And if their tires are bald and you don't mention it, I wonder sometimes if there's a liability situation, you, the dealer, not letting them know this is extreme danger. It is. Brake jobs are. I mean, if there's child safety seats in the vehicle and it's on the rack and the brakes are bad, there's no reason they should leave without brakes. And of course, you know, the technician and the video MPI is one thing. How it's presented to the guest is a completely different matter for transparency as well. Like the first thing is they think it's too much. Well, my experience is on most of those express service types of things, it costs more at independence than it does at the franchise dealer.
Right. You're right. But customers don't think so. It's a perception. It's a perception.
It is. And this is what video MPIs is part of changing that culture. No, it's great stuff.
Let me guess. At this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Dawn Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solutioneer executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you.
There's so much more. Go ahead, Charity.
Well, how easy is it to train techs? Speaking of techs, how easy is it to train on how to create high quality video MPIs?
So another great question, Charity. I would say, okay, they understand what should go into the video. Okay, the basics. When I ask them the question, almost always do they say initial concern, MPI. Yes, the fundamental, they need to go in there. Now, when it comes to word tracks and things of that nature, this is where they stumble, because all of this technical jargon that they process in their mind, now all of a sudden they have to speak to it. This is where they get stuck. And this is where the confidence is lacking, because they might confidently fix a very difficult, heavy repair. But when it comes to speaking about it, they're like, gosh, what the articulation, is difficult. So helping them get the proper word tracks, helping them understand how to talk in layman's terms, so that I'm a customer, I'm not a technician. So when they say things, like a rear diff needs this, that, and the other, I'm like, what's a rear diff? I don't know. How do we create language so our customer gets it? And so my role in giving them this process to follow, but is also to help them relieve some of that stress and pressure as far as word tracks. Now, helping them get a very clear process that's repeatable over time, and then helping them give the flow, and then these word tracks, essential. What is the most challenging part is the buy-in. And the culture, as I mentioned, sets the tone. So the culture can be, listen, this is happening, we're doing this, and here's why. But the reason why we're having somebody like a JJ come in to train you is the support. We recognize that it's challenging. We recognize that this is hard. We recognize that this is change and you're not used to it. She's here to support you along. And that is typically when we can start to make a little bit of inroads. However, with someone who is just resistant, it's harder. And otherwise everybody would be doing what I'm doing. But I was in a couple of stores not too long ago, and I think I was in bed by 7:00 that night after being in the store for 10 hours that day, because the energy that goes into working with the resistancy is a lot. And it takes a special person, I think, to be able to approach it with empathy and compassion, but also persistence, which is, this is happening. I'm not leaving until this is happening.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this is part of maybe some of what you go through, but I'm on camera a lot, or I'm speaking in public. Incidentally, all these things that are going on with me are usually as a result of charity, because without charity, none of this would be here. So I always like giving Charity kudos, because she is really good at what she does. But she'll also send me scripts to record, and it's like, I just can't do it. It's like, I gotta make sure I'm looking right. I got to make sure I say the right things. I got to make sure it looks, not like I'm reading from the script. And so I think that, and I want your, opinion on this. Keep it simple, because if they had to go up and talk to the customer, they could talk to the customer and just be themselves. But all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it is the quality of the video. Do I sound this way? Do I look like a piece of poo-poo, or whatever the case may be? Just start. Just start. Yeah. I know, but they still do it. I'm still doing it after years and years and years, and I still have to, well, Charity, what do you think? Be honest with me. Tell me, do I need to record this again, or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think that's a part of being not only accountable to what it is you do, responsible, but also you care. And that's a reflection of your values, and I share that with them too. I love that you guys care, right? I love that you're questioning, oh, my sound and my voice doesn't sound right. Or I sound silly. Do I really sound like that, JJ? I'm like, listen, I appreciate that. And that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing that you care so much that you want to ensure that you are getting your message across appropriately. That's being a professional. And Russell, I understand. I'm the same way. I don't care how many times I recorded or trained or talked. I always get a little bit nervous, because it's just because I care. And also it's important that the quality is there. So I give them kudos, around that. And then I remind them that, listen, they're not judging the sound of your voice. Yes, we want to make sure we can hear it. But what they're listening to what you're recommending, like what you're telling them, that's the value. And so again, it's just constantly shifting beliefs around doing this and how it benefits them immediately, but also long-term. And that goes back to showing the data. It's like, I have to connect it to the data. Oh my gosh, look, you did this process and then you sold the work. You sold the work before they talked to the advisor. Why do you think that happened?
Yeah.
I did what you said. Yes, did what I said. And it's not, I'm not telling you to do it because it doesn't work. I'm telling you to do it because I've seen the results. But you have to believe it as well. And that's this process.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, what are some best practices for making video APIs engaging and informative? You mentioned a couple, but might as well ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Russell too said it about this process being very clear and simple. I always say start off with an introduction, right? This is their chance to say hello, show the license plate, build some trust, address the initial concern right away. And around the initial concern, why would we do this? It's because it's the reason they came in to the store, right? And so helping the customer know right away, we're addressing what you came in for, followed by the MPI results. And quite frankly, this is the chance for the customer to see parts of their vehicle they never get to see. As an example, under the hood, they might be able to get to see that, but underneath the carriage, this is their chance to see that, right? And so showing the wheels and the brakes, which is the safety precautions that we're doing, and then offering value inside the recommendation. So helping the customer understand what is in it for them. If they decided to approve this recommendation today, what's the benefit of doing that for them? And then a thank you, a genuine thank you. And I always ask the technicians, are you happy that you have customers to service, that they chose you today? Well, yes, of course I'm happy. Then tell them you're thankful, right? And ensuring that they know next steps by including the advisor.
That's huge.
Yes. And that's really it. This isn't rocket science. This can be applied to every brand. People are talking about this. But when it comes to giving them the process and supporting them along the adopting, the new process, that's where they need the assistance.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to exceed expectation, because if you don't, they're not coming back. If you meet their expectations, yeah, okay, no big deal. You met their expectations. If you exceed their expectations, and this is a tool to do that, hopefully you do it in a way where it's done at the right time and not at the very end type of thing. But if it's you're talking about exceeding their expectations, and when they do, and they'll keep coming back, and they'll also tell, they have other vehicles, they have friends, neighbors, and relatives they're going to talk to about that experience. When somebody else is dogging their experience that they had at a dealership, they get a chance to really shine. That makes a huge difference.
It really does. And you just reminded me, Russell, of something that just happened this week. A client of mine for a BMW store sent me a BMW forum thread, like a customer thread, right? As far as somebody had started off with, hey, do any of your stores or dealerships do videos with your cars? And it led into this awesome thread where it was many of the customers said, yes, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I love it. Some said, yes, but I couldn't hardly watch it because the movement was so bad, or I couldn't hear the tech, or they didn't do anything but show me the car during the car wash. So there is this quality conversation where I think you brought it up early in the conversation today, which is quality is all over the place. It can be from useless to extremely valuable to phenomenal. And so the question always is, for my dealerships, if you're doing video, what level of quality are you producing? It's not enough just to say, the technician say, hey, you brought your car in and it's done, it's ready for pickup. That doesn't build trust, right?
No, that's lame. That's lame.
That's lame. That's right. That's lame. That's lame. So I would also encourage the feedback around your customers when it comes to OEM surveys or the surveys you get back. Go hunting for customer verbatim on your video. Are they talking about it? If they're not telling you this was the coolest thing I've ever seen, or I love the video, or the tech did the video super cool, then there's a problem. And then you need to go inspect your quality, because every store I'm in, they talk about it, and customers will mention how much they love and enjoy the technician video.
Yes, they will. Okay, I'm going to digress, and then Cherry will get us back on track. Jacqueline.
Yes.
You have many years with the brand BMW. How did you get here?
Wow, that is quite the story. So if I can tell you, before BMW, I went to school for art. I'm an artist, a painter.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a painter. I have a master's degree in fine art, and which is kind of comical, but that plays into how I think design my training and coaching, because I have a creative point of view perspective. It's not like I don't like to do like very boring things, because I understand, especially as technicians, they want to have some fun. But the point is that I fell into this. I fell into working for BMW. After graduation, I was looking for a job. I started with a headhunter, and I called them. They were the first letter in the alphabet in the phone book. Okay. So I just dated myself, and I called AOC was the company name, and they answered the phone and they said accountants on call. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. This is accountants. Like, this is not for me.
No,
not for me. But she kept me on the phone, and she said, I really like you. You sound great. Why don't you come on in? Let's just talk to you, and maybe we can hire you inside our office. Turns out they had the BMW Financial Services account. They serviced all the temporary jobs for that company.
Wow.
And long story short, some things happened, but eventually I became the BMW account manager on site, and I was responsible for hiring the temporary employees in the call center and
Wow.
collections, et cetera. Yes. So that's where BMW started, and it's been in my blood ever since. And I ended up being promoted and working at the BMW of North America facility in Jersey. And I stayed in HR, but I was also in training and customer experience. So the customer experience sales programs, Modern Luxury Moments, was kind of my baby that I rolled out. And so the experience for the customer was just like always my jam. Like I loved, like, how do we level this up? Like, how do we make a customer feel so amazing that they have to say yes, every single time? And that led to, in 2017, I left the OEM, and then I started my career coaching and training. And I had also gained my professional coaching certification through my time with BMW. And I just felt like I wanted to be boots on the ground in the dealership world. This is where the magic really, really happened.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, so much goes on that maybe at the OEM level, there's a little bit of a disconnect at times, and I might get chastised for saying that out loud, but it's just that there's so much goes on that we say we would push down. And I'm like, wait, but we don't really even know what they're doing inside their operations.
No.
So it opened my eyes significantly. And
So do you know Dave Bergamatto at Park Ave BMW? Do you ever do bit? It's just a name that just floated out in my head. I was just curious.
I don't know Dave directly, but I'm very familiar with Park Avenue.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, that just in 2017, I started doing training and coaching, and have been in all kinds of brands, worked for all kinds of dealerships. In 2022 is when I discovered video MPI, and this disconnect we were rolling out this technology in all the stores, but nobody was supported. Like the text, they were just told, hey, this thing is rolling out. We think you should put this in it. This is how you log into the system. And okay, bye. Have fun. Let me know how that works out for you.
And it didn't.
And it doesn't, no, because the texts are resistant and then the videos are subpar, right? And then that is where this was born. And I had a really client that has been amazing for all these years. And really, we developed this program together, utilizing my experience with them and how it impacted their technicians.
That is phenomenal. That's how you got here.
That's how I got here today.
I love it.
Today. It's been a wild, wild ride. And,
I'll bet it has.
But when you've got cars in your blood, you've got the industry in your blood, I don't care how much you try to like pivot.
Well, with your style and your personality and that type of product and what it represents in the industry, you're ahead of the curve. So
thank you for that.
Kudos to you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, I just wanted to get the backstory in the BMW. Charity, get us back on.
Appreciate that.
Okay, sounds good. So my next question is, have you seen an increase in customer approval rates for recommended repairs in any of your customers as they've implemented video MPIs?
Great question.
Absolutely. And I can tell you a success story that just happened this week, which was amazing. And it was like one of those, this is the best thing ever, and it solidified for the technicians that what they do, what matters, right? So it was two different technicians. We had the training in the morning, and my whole goal is after the training, I go into the shop and I do a shop walk, and I walk with them bay to bay. And we talk about the videos that they've made since the training and what did they add in? Because my goal is, hey, what are we leveling up, right? Like, what are we tweaking and polishing up? So these particular techs both followed the process, and we looked at their video together, and they both had a lot of recommendations. Well, one of them that day got an e-approval instantly, which is over $6,000 worth of repairs.
Wow.
Approved.
Yeah.
Approved. Okay. And then the other one, they had sent the video, and because the advisors need to send the videos for this particular store, which isn't the case, which is another topic we could touch on. But so the advisors sent the video, and then everybody goes home. So it was late in the afternoon. We come in the morning and I hear, I got the approval. They got the approval. I said, okay, tell me more. They're like, they didn't even talk to the advisor. They e-approved it on their phone. And I said, this is brilliant. That was 20 hours worth of work. 20 hours.
Wow.
This technician got off of one video. One video that they just tweaked their process.
Do you hear that out there, everybody? Do you hear what she's laying down right now? I'm just telling you.
Yeah, this isn't made up. This is literally like 2 days ago.
So it sounds to me like you take a lot of you demystify because, they're thinking, most of them are probably thinking all the same things. And it seems like your approach and the way you roll it out, you demystify a lot of their concerns, or because they're scared, probably because it's change. Yeah.
Of course. And this isn't where I'm not trying to point them out and belittle them or be like, oh my gosh, come on, like what, get with it, whatever. No, this is like, tell me more. What's going on with, I hear stories like one technician, he had dyslexia, and all of his growing up in school, he was constantly made fun of, and he was being made fun of a little bit inside the shop. And so he came to me and said, I'm trying, Jacqueline, I'm trying, but they keep making fun of me. And so we had to work on coaching strategies with him. Like I had to work on, okay, let's set up a strategy on how to deal with this and help walk him through the steps. Now, granted, I also had to talk to the leadership in this situation just to say, I can't have the environment pushing.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Exactly. I can't have that. Like, I can't have that. If we're going to be successful, they need to rally and be supportive of each other and not be making fun of each other. So we needed to get leadership involved in that scenario. But now the tech had a strategy that he didn't have before, right? That set him up. And then he was off to the races. I'm like, it was amazing to watch. But then he all of a sudden felt confident. But there's so many of these stories out there that exist.
Yeah. It sounds like it's an awesome product to have, but there's also some skill in using it as well. So generally, how do customers respond when they receive a personalized video from their tech?
Good question.
Another great point. I feel like you're setting me up for all these great stories, Charity. It's amazing. So another situation that was not too far off is that the customer received the video, but unfortunately we didn't have the parts for that particular repair in stock right away. And this customer was like leaving or something like that. So they couldn't do it right away, but they sent a message to the advisor, said that was, I don't know if I can cuss on here. Probably not, but
Sure,
that was,
you can.
okay. That was a bomb ass video that, I received, and I totally would have approved it was brakes and something else. It was something special though for this particular vehicle, but you didn't have it in stock. I'll have to do that when I get back next time. But it was direct customer feedback that said, hey, this was the coolest thing I've ever seen, which many of the techs don't think customers like it. They're like, they don't even watch it. They don't even like it. So part of my role as well is to show them feedback. And because I have friends and family members and, relatives, everybody who knows what I do, they will send me their videos. I kid you not. Hey, is this what you do? Like, is this what you're talking about? I just got this video from my Mercedes store and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Or I get the other ones too, which was, I think they need your card. And I'm like, yes, you know how to get a hold of me. So feel free to send it to them.
I guess it does take a little time for some, but I believe, I know you do as well. And most people out there listening, you just got to get started, but it's going to be the future. If you want to really offset this defection rate that happens, this is one of the most critical things for that to happen. But so with the stuff that we've asked you, when is the right time to ensure that they get that video? Because it's like my experience with the paper one is at the end. They don't even tell you really what it is. So that can't be this.
No, great question, Russell. Sooner than later, right? So ideally, let's say, now here's the scenario. Throughputs in the shops are different all over the place, right? And so there are some that are just have 100 cars a day and they're speeding through. So they're trying to knock out those services and get it to the customer right away, and ideally sooner versus later is always better. Even if the vehicle is still being diagged, like let's say there's a check engine light and the tech doesn't know yet what the resolution is, but he did the MPI and he saw there's a leak. There's a cracked bushing as an example. The tires are 30 seconds, whatever that might look like. And so getting it in front of the customer to say, hey, this is what I found already, because maybe while the vehicle's still on the lift, you've got that approval that happens right away so that they can maximize the lift. This is about maximizing the vehicle already there. Sure, sometimes we need to move the vehicle off the lift to get something in next. But if we're doing this the right way, you could get approvals faster, even more so than the vehicle being off the lift and then having to be put back on and to do the repair or to
Well,
go back.
it certainly beats sitting there for an hour and a half with no communication.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And to your point, this is also advisor setting it up in the beginning to say,
Yes. Excellent.
Mr. Customer, this is what's going to happen.
Oh, beautiful. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yes, you're going to receive it. And this is where we also miss the boat a lot. So I would ask my, FixedOPS leadership team, make sure your advisors are setting this up. I don't care if it's on automatic send or manual send, but telling the customer, this is an expectation. You're going to receive this video. Here's what's going to happen. When you review the video, we can absolutely discuss it. However, also, you're more than welcome to approve something. If you see it and you just want to get it done, just hit that e-approval and we'll make sure that happens. But those word tracks in the front end of the process, we just save the advisor time, right? Having to, figure it all out with the customer. If the customer already knows, I'm allowed to do this. I don't have to talk to someone.
Oh my God, it makes their job so much easier because they're complaining, I don't have any time. I don't have time. I don't have time.
This is another conversation with the technician. When you say, okay, I don't have time to do this, what you're actually doing is you're setting yourself up for efficiency in the shop. You're also taking your power back and not allowing the advisor to pick and choose what they offer to the customer. Absolutely. In addition, you're saving your time because now the advisor doesn't have to go back into the shop and say, hey, can you tell me what this thing is? I really don't understand. They can watch the video. And then they understand what it is you're trying to tell the customer when it's done right. The video's done right.
Yeah. And if the wife needs to send it to the husband or the husband needs to send it to the wife, before they write this, $3,500 check or no checks, put it on the debit card or no, they're in debt. So credit card. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, but they can also,
way they can get it to us, right?
Exactly. That's great.
Yeah. Well, and if there's like an intangible example you could give me for this one, that would be great. But does video MPI play a role in customer retention and loyalty?
I would say absolutely. I don't have the statistics on that, but I think as we get more into this playing out across our industry, that data is going to reveal itself. But here's where I think the value is when it comes to retention. And let me tell you, what I think should happen, and I don't think it's happening, so if you're listening, you might want to try it out, is using this as a sales feature when it comes to your selling the vehicle on the variable side, adding value, building value in their service experience before they even buy the car. Nobody talks about that because I'll ask the sales team, hey, do you know about video MPI? And they go, huh? Videos? I don't know what you mean by that. Well, we use videos on the sales side. No, are you familiar with the fact that your store does video multi-point inspections? Well, what is that? There is a disconnect. The information is not going to variable. So FixedOPS, get the information to variable to the leadership team. Use this as a value feature on why they should come back and service their vehicle with you. Because it doesn't, remember, we have this conversation when we offer value in our experience, we don't have to always go to discount everything, because we've got things that maybe we're offering that other dealerships do not have. So build the value first. You're probably going to hold more gross on the sales side because of the value. And then you're going to get them to come back because we know service sells the next car, right? So how they have a great experience in service, they're going to come back.
That's right.
So
on the variable side, as a matter of fact, 1950 something sales training manual for Ford. Okay. And it's really the same today. There's a process. There's a road to the sale. And when you deviate, shortcut it, it costs you gross, repeat, referral, CSI and SSI. It's not really about the dollar. It's about the value. If they like you, they trust you, believe you, they're going to buy from you. They just, it's relationships. That's all it really is. It's not rocket science. It's not, it's really not that at all. It's really simple. I wrote this down from a book I just started reading called Winning on Purpose. And the primary purpose of any business should be to enrich the lives of the customers, period. And the why to that is, well, because if they feel that kind of love, they're going to continue to come back and bring people with them. And they just will. That's what it's about. Jack, you can feel it when you walk into the showroom. You can feel it in the service department. If the aura or feeling is everybody knows what we're talking about. You can sense it. If the employees are happy, I'm going to tell you right now, they're doing video MPIs and the customers are happy. And that has to do with repeat, referral, and retention. And it really does. And it's not, and the value is so great. We use that. Well, the price is too high. Well, you haven't done enough building value because in all the statistics, it's really not about the price. It's really the value. They don't like you. They don't trust you. They don't believe from you. So price is a scapegoat. Easy, say it too high. I'm going to have to get back with you, et cetera. And you never hear from them. And don't you think that's true?
Absolutely. I always say to the technicians, and I'll ask you, do either of you have a guy or a gal? I got a guy or I got a gal?
I got a guy.
Right? You got a guy, right? I don't care what they tell you to do. You'll be like, yep, no problem. I'll buy that thing. I'll put that in, whatever it might look like. And the technicians, they have the same thing. I always say, do you have a guy or a gal? And they're like, yeah. We don't always go into who that guy or gal is or what they're doing. But what I'm saying is that you just trust them. They build value in the experience with you. And I don't care what they're selling, you're putting it down, right? Because you know that they've got your best interest at heart and mind. And so helping them make that connection, that they can be that guy, they can be that gal, right? They can be the person that is the trusted advisor. Play on words, right? We've got a service advisor yet, but the technician can still be the trusted advisor, giving the customer the information about their vehicle and what they would do based on safety, performance, whatever that might look like for the customer. And back to your point regarding, you can feel it when you walk into a dealership, energy is palpable. And I always say to the technicians, how many times have you called a call center and you could tell the person on the other end had a really bad morning, really bad day?
Yeah.
How much do you trust their feedback or what they're saying? They're like, not usually. I don't. Of course not, right? Because I don't think they're going to take good care of me. I don't think they're going to give me the full response. I don't think they're going to do all the things they could have potentially done. And I help them understand that even though we might not be seeing your face, we hear your voice and we can tell if you're having a bad day. And that all the time. And I watch so many technician videos and I know my teams really well. And there have been times where I have reached out to the technician and said, are you okay? Because your videos, I know how they usually sound. And then all of a sudden there might be a series of videos where I'm like, something's off, something's wrong. And those conversations, sometimes I'll go to the leadership. Hey, is Bobby okay? Is Tom okay? Something is different.
So you have counseling services to back that up?
So one of my texts goes, I had no idea what we were getting when they hired you. I said, I know, I need to put therapists behind my last name.
We talk about it all the time. People really want, when something's wrong, people just want to know they count, they matter, they make a difference. And
that's right.
If somebody pays attention, that makes a difference. And that experience I had with my Genesis, that's not my guy. As a matter of fact, I've never been back since. And we don't have a standalone Genesis franchise here yet. But I have to drive 40 miles just to go to a Hyundai store that can even service my Genesis, because the local Hyundai store doesn't even have access to my VIN and able to, but it doesn't make any difference because of my guy here and how he took care of me and my family. They're matter of fact, all of them are my guys. I buy the filters when I'm on the road at a Genesis dealership, and I have them change the oil and do all my services because that's not my guy.
That is amazing. You're bringing the parts to them.
Yes. Yeah. Because I trust him.
Yes, of course. Of course. That is the power of trust. It is so much deeper, than just a word. It is how we operate as human beings, so it's a powerful tool.
It is. Charity. I think I know what the next question is.
So I'm going to skip a few because we're running out of time here. So what do you think the future of video MPIs will look like 3 to 5 years from now?
Another great question. I think, well, first of all, when I go into a room and present, let's say I've presented to a 20 group as an example, and I ask the question, how many of you are using video? And 5 to 7 stores raise their hand versus 30 store audience as an example. Well, I say person, okay, because they might have multiple stores. And sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, that's really small compared to what I had thought, And so what I found though is that yes, that was the number, but it is increasingly and fast and furiously picking up. So I think in 3 to 5 years, it is going to be a lot more mainstream, but it's going to be pretty clunky until folks actually realize that they need people to help them do this. But the folks that I'm working with, as an example, they're really light years ahead as I'm reading like these BMW customer threads, and things of that nature. And I'm seeing the inconsistencies of quality that a lot of customers are experiencing. So there are a few that are like, hey, we know this isn't going away. And they're putting dollars behind it because of the dollars that make them on the other side to get really good. So I think, yeah, it's definitely going to pick up. Well,
you're a pioneer. And let me tell you why, because there's a certain level of people that buy in before the masses really accept it. It's that way with everything. And I don't know if it's at 5 or 6%. I don't think it's a lot higher than that when you do the math of the few versus the 30 that did. And I talk to people every single day in FixedOPS from all over the country in different places. And video MPI is huge. It's a talking point. But the ones that are talking about it, the vast majority of them, they're hearing the responses and the trials and tribulations and struggles. Real quick, because I know we are just, we have one more final question. Do they use their phone? Do you provide devices? How does that work?
Sure. They both, actually. They can use their phones. The dealership can provide devices when it comes to, it could be iPods. It could be, another smaller phone. Also tablets. That's what I was trying to get out. Tablets as well. Tablets are harder, right? Because it's more clunky. It's bigger, as far as like some kind of rugged device or whatnot. I always err on the side of if we can give them a device, it's better, because if they drop their $1,000 phone, it's a different situation than if they drop the iPod that the store provided to them, as an example. And I always recommend many of the systems, like the technology that exists out there. There's a lot of different systems, as you all know. And many of these systems have apps, right, that they can have uploaded on their phone. So that's where the videos are actually being created for the customers. That is a best practice, as you can imagine why.
So are you saying that the Galaxy S25 is the best Android phone in the market out there to actually do that? Or no, I'm just kidding.
I am an iPod or an iPhone.
I know. I'm Charity is too. I don't know what Patrick is.
Russell, that's a really good point, right? Because keep in mind how hard it is for iPod users to use like an Android device and vice versa. This is like using technology in general to make videos. I mean, if you gave me a phone right now, a Galaxy, I'd be like, I don't really know what to do with it.
I'm out of my entire family, kids, grandkids, I'm the only holdout. Everybody's on Apple products. And
there's a reason for that, Russell.
Yeah. And they do the FaceTime stuff that I can't be a part of. And my granddaughter is not allowed to have internet connections, but she can interact with her Gigi and her mom and stuff like that, where they have to show me the video. I know I digressed there. We have one final question because we are out of time. Charity, please.
Yes, last one. Are there any questions we didn't ask you that you wish we did? Or anything you'd like to share in general? Anything we didn't touch on, it's open-ended.
I would just say, I would like to go back to a point I think, Russell, you mentioned, which is just start. Just start. Don't let the unknown hold you back from moving forward in this technology. Don't let the pushback, don't let the negative voices of, oh, it's just another thing, hold you back from at least engaging in this technology, because the longer you resist it, the harder it's going to be to adopt. And not to mention, in my personal opinion, this is a competitive advantage. And we're always looking for ways to stand out, to get above the noise of our industry and what's happening. And this is a low-hanging, easy fruit that I would say to just jump on into and just start somewhere, right? And obviously that does require communicating with your tech, communicating with the team on why this is an advantage, communicating with them on this isn't just another step, but it creates efficiencies. It creates more referral business. It creates higher satisfaction. All of those reasons we all know, but then connecting the dots for your team before it launches, so that buy-in is there. But this is just start.
So thank you. I'm watching this right now, and a lot of you out there are going to see the shorts or watch the whole thing, etc. And you're going to get excited, and then it's like, okay, I learned a lot from this. How did they get a hold of Jacqueline Jasionowski, Jasionowski, president at Shift Away Group? How do they get a hold of you? How do they? How do they make contact with you so they can learn more with what they learned today?
Sure. Obviously, they can go to my website, shiftawake.com. Super easy to just learn a little bit more about the program and some insights, data on why this matters so much, right? And what it is that we do in order to get that adoption and the results. In addition, I'm on LinkedIn. So if you dare try to spell my full name, which I'm sure they're going to put it in the show notes somewhere, I would love to connect with anybody out there. And I am also a willing vessel, willing party. I don't have to sell you my services. I'm willing to answer any questions you have. If you're doing this on your own and you're just struggling, use me as a resource, and if I don't know the answer, I'll go find the answer for you. But my whole conversation is, and my philosophy is about building value and having you all trust me, just like you want your techs to be trusted and your industry to be trusted. So feel free to ask any questions you might have, and I'll be happy to address them.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, when this comes out, like her, love her, comment, share with her, connect with her. Sherry and Patrick, thank you for all you do to make this a successful show. Jacqueline, thank you. We're honored and humbled to have you on another successful episode of WTF, and that's What the Fixed Ops to all of you out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.